Okay, let's start. I guess others will be joining as we go, but I would like to again welcome you all for joining us today for our webinar, Gearing Up for Growth. We're going to be discussing growth trends in 2021. We hope by the end of this webinar, you will have some methodologies and some framework and some things that will help you grow your businesses in 2021. With us today, we have Khalid. Khalid, if you would like to start, introduce yourself, give an introduction about EBRD. Since this is a joint webinar between EBRD and Case in Point, I will give the floor to Khalid now, and then we can move on.
Thank you, Lynn. Now it says that my video is basically blocked, so I'll just speak. If you can, please allow me to share my video, if that's possible.
Sure, I'll do that now. 1 second.
Hi, everyone. And on behalf of EBRD, I would like to welcome you all to this session. First, I want to ask, do we have any English speakers, or can I switch to Arabic? If we have English speakers, please can you say so in the chat box? Okay. مساء الخير. Okay.
We have someone.
Okay, then. Well, again, on behalf of EBRD, I would like to welcome you all to this session. For those who don't know me, my name is Khalid Sahib, and I manage the Advice for Small Businesses program at EBRD. It's part of the SME Finance and Development Group at the bank. For the past 8 years, since 2012, we have been working with different private sector firms in Jordan, especially SMEs, in providing them with support and assistance to do consulting and advisory projects in different areas. Last year also, we've expanded our outreach, especially through webinars on different topics related to SMEs. And today we're happy to have Case in Point and Ammar with us to talk about gearing up for growth in 2021. Ammar has over 30 years of experience in providing consulting to a wide range of companies, including big companies as well as startups and SMEs. So without further ado, I leave it to you, Ammar. Happy to have you with us, and please go ahead.
Thank you, Khalid. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having us, for partnering with us to do this very important webinar about growth in 2021. Very important subject. We're all gearing up for growth for 2021 under not so normal circumstances, or what we call now the VUCA world. And we will talk about that a little bit more, but we might as well get used to it because this is the world we have right now. And they say, when there is, what do they say? When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. So let's see how we can make lemonade together. I'm glad to be here. Thank you all for joining. I'm very happy to see the crowd in for this, and I appreciate your time. I will use it very wisely, and I hope I will provide you value throughout this session. If you have questions, please raise them. I will always take a look at the questions. If it's something that we should address immediately, I will. If it's something we need to address at the end, we can address at the end. So bear with me as we go through this. So here is the agenda. We want to talk a little bit about recapping from 2020 because we're still living in the residue of what happened in 2020. We want to talk about the growth trends in 2021, the tools to help you keep up with the trends and thrive, things that has helped us as an organization and has helped also our clients, things like using something we call the exponential blue ocean shift, digital transformation. Everybody's talking about that part now, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. And another important subject, which is using OKRs for strategy implementation and execution. So let's recap on 2020. Now 2020 is over, but we cannot assume that we are out of the situation yet, as we can all see. Forrester says that disease experts predict that COVID-19 will become a disease that is here to stay potentially for decades. I feel a bit guilty when I say things like that because I'm never pessimistic, but I also feel that we have to be realistic about what is coming so we can be prepared. So if we are prepared, if we know what is coming, we can be optimistic about the prospects and the potential. Everybody in the business world is now talking about the VUCA world. VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. This is the kind of world we are dealt today. And if we're going to build resilience as companies, we have to have the ability to work in these circumstances. Unfortunately, school did not prepare us for this. School taught us that everything is a formula, 1 + 1 = 2. And we're finding out that sometimes 1 + 1 = 3, especially with quantum physics and quantum mechanics. We're finding out that 1 + 1 is not exactly what we thought it was. And this is what the VUCA world is about, to understand that not everything we learned is the truth, the absolute truth. Not everything is subject to a formula, and we have to learn to live in this gray, mushy area that we are dealing with today. So remember this word, the VUCA world: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Every organization that will thrive in the coming years will be an organization that mastered working in the VUCA world. Now, VUCA is not a crutch. Unfortunately, we're seeing this with organizations. We're saying, you know, it's really tough. Let's bunker. Let's go into a bunker. Let's hunker down, they say it. So that, you know, when I remember once at one of the big automotive, I was a consultant in my early years for one of the big automotive. And I remember one of the managers was saying, you know, this thing about project management is like a storm. And me, like trees, we will yield to the storm, but the storm will go away and we will stand up again. And some people are taking that kind of path too, and project management never went away. And so we don't want to say VUCA is here today and so we will wait. But we need to actually prepare for it, because it is the shape of the world that we are going to live in the future. So don't use this as an excuse to wait, because the ones who will lose the most are the ones who wait. So this is the situation we were dealt in 2020. Now let's talk about the prospects for 2021. Okay. Now, many of the business consultants are talking about 2021 being a year of transition. We're not out of the situation right now, but we can start looking into shaping the future instead of just dealing with the situation as is or assuming things will go back to normal. So this year is very important. Those who wait on this year will delay their transition an extra year. I also quote here from McKinsey about the next normal. Many actually of the consulting organizations are talking about this now. We cannot go back to before COVID-19. There was a world before COVID-19 that is gone forever. There is a new world today after COVID-19 that we have to live with. So probably we're going to be marking the world like this. We say pre-COVID-19, it was so-and-so, past COVID-19, it's going to be so-and-so. So old models, if the world will be different, then the old models will not work anymore because it does not work in the current environment. And their studies are showing this, statistics are showing this, and we will talk about some of these. Today, we have to be agile. We need creativity, speed, accountability. These are becoming important, not only words, but they have to be practices. So we have to do better. I felt this was very interesting. This is a very telling story. Basically, the theme here is that companies, and I'm seeing this, I'm sure you are seeing this, and tell me please if you are seeing this or not. Companies are either the companies who are doing good are doing even better, and companies who are not doing so well are even doing worse. So we're not having it's not an all or nothing. So it's not like the market will be great for everyone. It's not like the market will be terrible for everyone. And it's not also just industries, by the way. So even though this picture shows industries, telling you I know companies from industries that are supposed to be doing really bad, who are doing actually very well. They are having some of their best years. So, but again, they were doing good before, and they were paying attention to the volatility that we are working with, and they addressed it. So it's all about how you take this. It's our responsibility. The results that our companies will make in the future are our responsibility, not a result of the economic situation. Because this economic situation is giving us disruptive results, and it's giving us also very alarming results for some of the giants that we used to think will do really well in any market. Let's look at some predictions for 2021. These are from IDC. In 2022, this is actually 2022, but I mean for the future. Enterprises focused on digital resiliency will adapt to disruption 50% faster. So everybody's talking resiliency again, talking about adapting as fast as possible. If you adapt, you can work, you can produce. By 2023, 1/4 of G2000 companies will acquire at least one AI software startup to ensure ownership of differentiated skills and IP. So there are buzzwords today in the market, and they are here to stay, like automation, like AI. These are definitely here to stay, and we have, and you know, companies in the, you know, in these fields will definitely prosper and get acquired. One of our partners actually last year, talking about this, they work in the people analytics area, which is part of artificial intelligence. They got acquired actually 3 times in the past 2 years. So there is lots of focus on AI and many other subjects like staff on demand, the importance of community, collaboration, partnership, etc. There are themes out there, and we will talk about this. So what are the acceleration concepts were coming? We knew were coming even before. This is not a COVID-19 result. We knew this was coming, but COVID-19 accelerated the rate at which this future is coming. So if we're talking automation, artificial intelligence, robotic process automation, virtual sales, augmented reality, IoT, 3D printing, 5G networks, technology, fintech. I mean, we were talking about these things before COVID-19. The only difference is that this is becoming much faster. I'm seeing actually changes in the market in 1 year that I thought would take like 5 years to come. Some of the people who had forecasts for 10 years from now, they're saying these 10 years will show up in the coming 3 years. So this is very important. I have a question here from Hi Jamil. Jamil is asking, is adapting something to do with the people of the organization, or is it more to do with the strategy that the organization is undertaking? The answer is yes, which means both. So we have this has to be part of everything that we do. Our daily work, our strategy, our tactics, our people, our organization, everything. Definitely. Thank you for the question. So what are these? We talked about these. There are more, of course. As I mentioned, like community and crowd, the dashboards, what will happen with dashboards and the importance of data, etc. So these are the growth trends. If you are in this area, if you look at this slide and say, yeah, this is daily work for us. This is where we live. This is normal. If you tell me staff on demand is part of what we do, community and crowd is part of what we do, if social engagement is the same, if you're telling me automation is part of what we do, IoT, then we're going to be fine. You know, if agility is part of what you do, we're going to be fine. Inshallah, of course, but we are going to be fine if this is where we are working and the way we are working, more than just them being just buzzwords. They have to be the way we are working. So what can help us now transform or deal with these growth trends that are coming? How do we become part of them instead of becoming just the observers who are looking and watching the world go by quickly and we are just where we are? Talk about 3 tools: the exponential blue ocean shift, which is a different way of thinking that will allow you to disrupt your results. So it's a different way of thinking that will allow you to execute faster and get much higher results. We'll talk about digital transformation, and we will talk about also strategy implementation. So let's go over these tools one by one. These are, I will try to talk on the practical side of things that I have seen with clients or things that we have applied ourselves. Now, the exponential blue ocean shift, we have seen this work for over 25 regional and local companies. And we have seen many more, of course, much more success stories that were built on the fundamentals based on this, on which the EBOS was created. The fundamentals are the exponential thinking and the blue ocean shift. I'm not saying the blue ocean because the evolution of the blue ocean that manifested itself in the blue ocean shift is very important. We'll talk more about that. So the blue ocean dimension, you're all familiar with this. This is a tradition. Now it's becoming a traditional type of strategy. There are different ways you can approach your strategy. And one of them is the blue ocean dimension. Usually you go to this when you think that the future is predictable and you can see where things are going actually as far as themes, you know, but you want to capitalize on these themes. And this is where we feel we are, and this is why the blue ocean is now very important. So the blue ocean has been there since 2000, but it has gone through lots of evolutions because of practice, and this is what the designers of this say. And now in 2015, they came up with a book called Blue Ocean Shift to come along with the transformation that we are seeing and to talk more about being more practical and faster and more agile in implementing the blue ocean instead of being more on the abstract side. Of course, many companies have applied the blue ocean. These are some of them. There are many other success stories internationally. There are also success stories of companies who are applying this regionally and also locally, like Ministry of Communication, Information Technology in Saudi Arabia, Toyota, we're talking to Toyota on that, Agon, Solidarity, applied this very successfully. Toyota, as we said, Hyperpay just started applying this. Trax did, Zane did, definitely. So there are success stories. There are things that people are seeing as good results from these applications. Now, the exponential organization dimension is something you have to add to the blue ocean. Blue ocean alone is not enough, in my opinion. Exponential organization dimension ensures that the disruptive attributes of today are taken into consideration when we talk about the blue ocean shift. So we don't want to be talking about blue ocean abstract. We want to be talking about specific attributes that are related to IoT, where the world is heading, the agility, etc. And this is what the exponential organization dimension brings. What is the exponential organization? This is actually, I'm a big fan of this methodology. I use it always. It's becoming a lifestyle in our company and many of our clients. It came from observing the organizations who are exponentially growing. What is different about these organizations, and what was different was captured actually, and you can replicate it in your organization, not mimic it, but replicate it, taking into consideration the organizational style that you have and the region that you are in and the culture, etc. Very good. So this is exponential blue ocean shift. Now the exponential organization is an organization that doubles, at least doubles, on targets every year. So if our target is revenue, growth in revenue, that means revenue next year should be double at least the revenue for this year. Outrageous, but doable. And companies are doing it. Actually, the methodology did not come to teach us how to do it from scratch. It actually came to teach us how to do it based on companies that have done it. This is what we call the disruption. Now, the methodology says that companies today have a potential to grow, to double on targets. The target might be reach, might be number of branches, might be revenue, might be better effectiveness, customer satisfaction, etc. But the exponential idea is to disrupt, to actually double every year. And I think the premise to think about here, if you think this is outrageous, rest assured people are doing this. And imagine if someone comes into your context, your environment, and does this before you. It's not good. And we're seeing this actually worldwide. People are becoming more savvy about this and about how to do it. So that makes me optimistic actually about the future, because what we thought is hurting us is actually forcing us to grow, not just be defensive. Remember, exponential organization came before COVID, and one of the examples that it uses is the smartphone adoption. Of course, we talked about some of the global consulting companies, and while many of them did not even predict this and actually recommended against it, but smartphone adoption is exponentially growing. This is just one example of many products and offerings and organizations who are that are actually disrupting and exponentially growing. We can talk about Tesla. We can talk about many of the new technology. We can talk about Netflix. We can talk about many of the companies out there. So it's easier said than done, right? It's very easy to talk about this, but how do we get it done? How can I exponentially grow? This is outrageous. Actually, it's completely scary. I mean, how can I even contemplate putting a target that doubles on my targets from last year? This is not easy mentally, by the way, more than it is not easy realistically. And this is proven actually. So how do we do it? We need a structured approach. We cannot just tell people, come on, double, or that means something's wrong with you. So we have to have a methodology. And this is what we try to talk about now. Okay, we have a question here from Mr. Wafa. Mr. Wafa asks, would the exponential organization model work for any sector or just management consulting? Actually, this is something that's working in all sectors already. We can bring in, I know people in the construction sector who are doing this and doing wonderful in a time where construction is really not doing well in many regions. In the manufacturing industry, I'm saying it's everywhere, in the pharma, not only technology, not only consulting, definitely. Thank you, good question. So let me just do this real quick. Sorry about that. So how is it done? We start at the big picture and then we will go into the detail. First, I advise you to look at the 6 Ds of disruption that Peter Diamandis talks about. Now, Peter is not perfect. He has had his glitches, but definitely this is one of the, but who has not? I mean, we all make mistakes. But the 6 Ds of disruption, this is the guy, a visionary behind the X Prize. This man created one of the best mission-focused or massive transformative purpose-focused organizations in the world. This guy says that if it does not affect 1 billion people, I'm not interested. So he wants to be in initiatives that affect 1 billion people. Otherwise, he's not interested. When I read first about Peter, I said, oh, come on, this is too much. I mean, this is outrageous. This is impossible. But I went and looked, check him out. Look at what he is working on. All his initiatives affect 1 billion people or more. So all power to him, definitely. So he talks about the 6 Ds of disruption. Here are the 6 Ds, which is to digitize. There is the deceptive phase. I'll talk about that in a second. The disruptive phase, the dematerialization, demonetization, and democratization. So to digitize, that means going digital, not only digitalization, people say. So everything has to go to the digital realm. The deceptive phase means sometimes you do something, and we all say this. You create a product and you hear crickets. I've seen this always with products. In the beginning, you hear crickets, like, you create this product, you think everybody is going to jump in and say, I want this product, this is for me. Or you put this company in place and you think everybody is going to jump in and buy from you, and then crickets. So this is called the deceptive phase. You think you're not onto something, but you are, believe me. This many types of products, offerings. 3D printing has been around since the 70s. So there is a deceptive phase. And that's okay, that's normal. If you're going to be a pioneer, you have to expect this. So he says you go through deceptive phase and then disruption comes. Disruption is when you start actually, people know about this and they start buying and they start getting interesting and you start spreading the value. After the disruptive phase comes the dematerialization. Usually in the disruptive phase, you will see that it might be expensive to acquire this technology or this offering. In dematerializing, you start actually making this not linked to a specific asset, meaning I don't need a factory to create my product. I don't need an office for my employees to work. I don't need to have a watch with me because the watch is just there for me. I can just look at it anywhere or in my glasses. Maybe I don't need glasses because we dematerialize glasses. Maybe we don't need learning because we dematerialize learning through a chip or something. I know this sounds far-fetched, but I don't think we are that far from it. Demonetizing means when everything, you start offering what used to be expensive and you have to pay for it, and now it's demonetized, it's free, or it's cheap, low cost. Look at what Netflix is doing. They are demonetizing, actually, the film industry for us as viewers. Look at the phones, what's happening with the phones, etc. And then there is the democratize. If we demonetize means what used to be expensive, now it's not that expensive. Democratize means more people can have access to it, like better health care, the vaccines, a watch, a smartphone, clean water, you know. So that's what democratization means. Solar energy, going to the moon. This is all coming. It's going to happen. Okay, without digressing, try not to digress. Now, ideas for exponential. So what are the attributes of exponential? Here is an outrageous claim, which I think is true. If you are going to exponentially grow this year, your growth most probably is going to be in one of these 10 areas. Either by doing more staff on demand instead of just hiring, creating communities and crowds around the value that you want to create, algorithms and artificial intelligence, leveraged assets, which means using somebody else's assets, like what Uber did, engagement, where you actually engage it's close to community and crowd, engage the ecosystem around you to collaborate instead of compete or work in silos. We have you can find these online, of course. I did not come up with these. I came up with 7 more that I felt work in our region and more specific, where people can work with them, not abstractly, but that's another story. But these are actually by a guy called Salim Ismail. He has a book called Exponential Organization. Strongly recommended for everyone. Interfaces, dashboards, experimentation, automation, and social platforms. Social platforms. Now, think of the things on the left, the ideas, as things internal inside your organization, how you build the culture. And think of things on the right, the staff on demand, community and crowd, etc., as things external, looking outside. So you have to look outside with staff on demand, community and crowd, algorithms, leverage assets, and engagement. There is more, as I said, but these are the main ones. And the ones that Salim Ismail talks about. And there is internally, how do we work? You create interfaces so that the data does not have to be entered twice, that we can actually work together and make decisions real quick through the everything is connected. Everything is connected. Dashboards, so I can make decisions faster. I don't have to spend like a week putting together a presentation because the CEO asked a question. He or she can just walk in and look at the dashboard. Experimentation is very important. It's really tough for us because it hits our ego. In our ego, we cannot be wrong. We have to be always right. In reality, if you do not make quite a few mistakes every day, that means you're not experimenting enough. And that's what experimentation is about. We need to do this at the organizational level and at the personal level. And I would love to see more of that in our region. Autonomy means give people room to make decisions. Don't kill them and strangle them with layers of organization or layers of routine and bureaucracy. And social platforms, so you can engage your whole organization in the mission that you are trying to bring them to. Take a look at these. Take a look at these 10. There is actually an assessment that we have that can give you a prediction about the health of your organization based on these 10 attributes. Imagine. And how much adoption you have of these 10 attributes. There are different levels of adoption. There is adoption that is ad hoc, means some people heard about it, some people have not. There's a level of adoption where we have a structure around it, but doesn't mean it's implemented. We have a level of adoption where we are implementing, but faltering here and there. And there is a level of adoption that is mastery, where actually we not only we adopt it, we're really good at this stuff. Really good. So you need to know at what level you are and how far you are and how many of these you are adopting in your organization will tell you a lot about how resilient and what the future looks like for your organization. Okay. The crowd is growing, so I will assume that you are liking the subject and you're asking your friends to come in. There is actually still more. So if you have not done that yet, please ask people to come in. I would love more people to listen, to see what we're talking about here, and also to get questions and insights from you as we go. So thank you for coming in. It's not too late to come in, actually. There is a, okay, so to give you a break from the monotone presentation that I'm very famous for, let's go to a question from an anonymous attendee saying, do you consider EBOS as CapEx or OpEx investment for the organization, and why? The beauty of doing EBOS is to stay away from CapEx. I mean, if I tell you you have to invest $100 million and your organization will disrupt, yeah, but I mean, there's $100 million involved. But the beauty of the EBOS is that there are smart ways to do this on operational level expenses. You don't have to go CapEx. Even at the low level of investment, monetary, required for this to work. So it does not have to be CapEx, actually. Most of it is OpEx. You don't have to build big factories. Remember, we're saying leverage the assets. We're saying staff on demand. Actually, lots of what the Exponential organization talks about is to stay lean as much as possible. Definitely. Good question. It's an excellent question. Who asked this question? Ah, anonymous. That's true. I don't know who this person is. But please reveal yourself later. I would love to know who. Well, that's an excellent question. So what were the results? The results from Exponential Blue Ocean Shift, the EBOS, is 2 to 20x the revenue. Talking about revenue, and now there are successes not related to the revenue as a target. There are related to growth, value created for constituents, because we've done this for ministries. Sometimes it was reach, it was the customers we are reaching, the partnerships we are forging, etc. But the EBOS, regionally and internationally, you see results of 2 to 20 times in 1 year. By the way, exponential growth is not a new concept, but sometimes it takes someone like Salim Ismail to come up and talk about it for it to catch. But actually, in credit to Bain Consulting, Bain has been talking about exponential growth since, I think, the 70s. But it was not this outrageous. They were saying, Bain, this is the way they worked with their clients. They said, let's exponentially grow in a couple of years. And we work together with you to put the strategy and the execution. This is what Bain used to do. Now, the tools allows you can leverage technology and methodologies and the context of the market today to give you this in a much easier way, and without having to go to bigger consulting companies to get it done. So 2 to 20x is not bad. It's outrageous. Now, when we start the journey with companies, we always say that it has to start with belief. If you don't believe it's doable for your company, I assure you it's not doable. You're right. And if you believe it's doable, then you will do it. I know many organizations who have done the EBOS. Eyes were rolling in the beginning of the year because the CEO believed this is doable. He talked to his people or to her people. They chatted. He got actually she got the excitement, the commitment, the understanding, the belief into the organization, and they've done it. So this is doable. This is happening. You know companies where this is happening already, but we assume it's by luck or by chance, or they were in the right place at the right moment. Actually, you put yourself in the right place at the right moment. It's our responsibility. But see, it's much easier to blame the market. It's much easier to blame the environment. The environment is not something we can blame. It's there. How do we react to this environment? How do we deal with this environment is what really matters. So that's on the Exponential Blue Ocean Shift. Actually, I digressed a lot. I will, since digital transformation, everybody's talking about digital transformation, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I don't think you came for this specifically. I will talk about it a little bit, then I'll talk about the OKR management and implementation just to save you time, because you will not find many people talking about the EBOS or the OKR, but you will find lots of people talking about digital transformation, even though I think lots of what's in the market today, not only here, but worldwide, about digital transformation is not in the right place. The heart is not in the right place, but that's okay. We'll continue. So digital transformation is here to stay. The new way of the world is here to stay. It has been evolving for a while. We've been talking about innovation for a long time, digitization forever. We've been talking about digitization. Now we're going into digitalization, which leverages more technology, going into more exponential results. And now we're talking about digital transformation as a journey of strategically planned organizational change, which is not about technology, it's about culture, and it's about how we look at the world and leverage the assets that are surrounding us, ours and outside the organization. What are the change blocks of the organization? You have to have the big picture that supports this. You have to have the culture and the people and the change management necessary, and you have to have the alignment. So lots of things come into play: the strategy, the execution, and how you carry your initiatives. So you need to build digital capabilities. So the terms are not foreign. We don't hear these terms and think this is science fiction. It's not science fiction anymore. And we are agile in the way we deal with innovation, which is very important. And then you have to have the tactical excellence to implement, which is very, very important. So it's not just about a different tool or a different cloud platform, definitely. Okay, very good. Question from Munir. Hi, Munir. Is there any specific classification of the results, outcomes, whether quantitative and or qualitative? Yes, we always talk about quantitative. We don't talk about how people feel, how they, even though there are results like that, but we're talking about quantitative numbers. I always find it an excellent byproduct when people say that, when we implemented the EBOS, everybody now is able to see the big picture and willing to think strategically. So the way it affects strategic thinking is really important. That's a very good question. Thank you. Another question from Muhammad. Hi, Muhammad. With COVID-19, everybody is turning into home office. How would OKR help in this? We will talk about that in the next section. Definitely. Okay, moving on to the OKRs, which will answer Muhammad's question. You can have, from the EBOS, you can have the best disruptive timeline that will give you 20 times the success, 20 times the revenue. But let's execute it. This is what really matters, because having it on paper doesn't help anybody, does it? So execution requires OKR. OKR is one of the fastest, most practical strategy execution methodologies I have ever seen or witnessed. It's very practical. It improves involvement. It increases productivity. Google, actually, there was an article not long ago, I think 2 or 3 months ago, Google was talking about OKRs being one of or the most important factor in the levels of productivity and how fast they were evolving. They were talking about the OKR. And I'll be happy to share that with you. If you send me an email, I'll be happy to share that with you. There we go. Credits of changing the course of the company forever goes to OKRs. This is Eric Schmidt. Thank you. Who was the executive chairman from 2011 to 2015. LinkedIn also is in on it. They use OKR heavily. These are some of the companies who are using OKRs internationally. All companies I have seen, I've worked in companies, OKR has been around since the 70s, by the way, in Intel. I've used it in the US when I was working there in the 90s. And I've never seen a company apply it and not achieve their yearly objectives, never, ever. And it's very simple where, companies say, we cannot believe that such a simple tool can allow such great results. So team productivity improves. It's simple, it's measurable, and it is aligned with your strategy. Everybody can use it. So it's not only for one type of company. And the nice thing about the OKRs is that it builds accountability. It brings everybody to the table to think about what do we do next, how well are we doing, and how can we improve. It becomes a question that you ask on a daily basis, and this is very important. It's different. It requires a cultural shift because people are not going to be comfortable with this. You know, the days of comfort, of feeling, you know, we can finally have some stability, I think are gone. Companies are going to keep moving. So where to go from here? We advise companies to look into the exponential blue ocean shift to create a disruptive timeline for 2021. And again, you don't have to create it from scratch. The exponential attributes are out there. The blue ocean shift methodology is out there. The EBOS methodology, which combines both, is out there. So you don't have to start from scratch. Look into digital transformation. By the way, if you do EBOS, there is no other path than going into digital, not only digital actually, and business transformation. Because when I say digital, people immediately think about tools, and this is not what digital transformation is about. And then make sure you implement properly. Implement properly doesn't mean you're good at implementation. It means that you are structured in how you bring about what you said you will do into reality, and the changes in the culture into reality. It's so easy for me to talk about experimentation, and but what's not easy for me is to look at a mistake that was done or a project that failed and deal with it properly, so the culture understands that this is actually for the good of the organization, and we use it actually for the good of the organization. We follow this formula, and inshallah, all of us will thrive in 2021. Peter Drucker says that greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence itself, but to act with yesterday's logic, which we cannot afford. Neither me nor you can afford something like that. Thank you so much for listening. And we have a few questions. Please send your questions. The question here is, can we implement EBOS in NGOs? Definitely. I've seen it in governments, I've seen it in NGOs. The focus is not on the revenue, but probably on the value created by the NGO. And also creating, actually, I think EBOS lends itself very well to NGOs because there's a big element of collaboration and community in the EBOS. Very good. Is the OKR the same concept as logical framework? It's different. It's different. It's not the same thing. Yeah, it's different, definitely. Ahmed, hi Ahmed, good to see you here. ECU. Don't you think that practice moved from managing by objectives into rather results and change? It's very good. Actually, the main change that I'm seeing is that the objective is becoming more elusive. So we have to be ready to change, realign, refocus, and evaluate on a regular basis. I think one of the toughest things is that we have to sit monthly and be honest with ourselves about how well or not well we are doing. And this honesty is not easy if you're not used to it. But this transparency is not easy. If you know, ego is a big thing. if we bring ego into this, it's amazing. It's so easy to talk about it. Carl Jung says that, you know, all of us are aware and away from ego until somebody puts us on the defensive side. So imagine somebody coming and saying, your product is not working, you're not doing this right. Immediately we go defensive and suddenly we don't see anymore. So yeah, I think that the key here is change. Like you said, the focus is on the results and how to get the results rather than focusing on judging the results. Definitely. Thank you for the question, Ahmed. Good to see you. Do these methods work for startups? Definitely. Specifically one between growth and scale phase. Okay, I'll tell you what. Here is what I've seen with the EBOS. EBOS is a great accelerator for companies who are in the small, medium enterprise area. And it is excellent for a company that proved itself. It proved it can create revenue. Now I want to scale. It's perfect for that. Also, it's perfect for organizations who are saying, I cannot stay local anymore. I need to move global. Perfect for being in the global market, for taking you that extra step. Okay, how can we know how EBOS is different than other consulting firms that provide consulting for strategy in the organizations? You know, there are lots of methodologies that are out there. What I advise you to do is to look at methodologies that are proven. They have to be simple, always. Google simplicity, Facebook-like engagement. So you don't, you know, anything complicated today is refused. In strategy, in execution, you cannot have anything. In tools must be simple. Zero training. Is OKR a performance monitoring system? Hi Khalid, great to see you. Is OKR a performance monitoring system to monitor the execution of the digital transformation strategy? It's more of a performance management system rather than monitoring. Because monitoring might not be enough. We're monitoring and we see that we're not achieving. So we don't stop there. We say, okay, how come? What do we need to do different next month? What did we experiment with this month? What did we learn from it? What do we need to do different so we can get different results? See, OKR forces you to think about something different because it does not allow you to think that you can get better results with the same input. Excellent question. Baha, hi Baha, I implemented OKRs in Nigeria for 2019 and it worked perfectly, but got so much disturbed during the frequent changes during 2020. Keep at it, Baha, I understand. What's the best advice in implementing OKRs in such disturbing environments and times? Always be ready to scratch everything that you are doing in favor of something better, improved, even if, you know, so you have to be prepared to do better. Don't assume what you have is the correct answer. Ask, in what ways do I need to change what I'm doing to get results better than the ones I'm getting today? And your OKRs will work perfect for you. What solutions I lost the question. There's a question here. I'm good with technology, but sometimes I don't see the, I lost it. Here it is. What solutions tour agents and individual tour guides may seek to apply when the whole tourism industry is shut down since March 2020? Excellent question, Yusuf, and it's a sad question. If you're asking out of, you know, sorrow and sadness, I'm with you, and I can only imagine how difficult this is for the people who are going through this. But if you are willing to sit at a table or on a Zoom with you or anybody from the tourism industry to talk about this, beyond just asking a question, I know for a fact there are things that can be done. And as I said, the solutions will not be, if the tour agencies are thinking they can go back to where things were before, I think they are mistaken. I think they're going to wait too long. Tour guides, same thing. It does not have to be, the answers don't have to be in the same answers that we seeked and found in the past. If we're looking there, if we're saying, how can you say things will go back to normal? I'm not saying things will go back to normal. We have to find the new normal together. And I can sympathize, definitely. Okay. We are actually, we're done. If you still have questions, feel free to write to me on my email, amango@casein.co.com. I'll give my phone number if that's okay too. I don't mind.
Ammar, we have a question that maybe we can come to before we end things. Khaldoon is saying, is it okay to change our challenges and targets during the year that our objectives are too challenging or not challenging enough?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Khaldoon. Excellent question. Please feel free to change monthly. If you're not changing monthly, something's wrong. Somebody is afraid. We have to change. Ask, what can we do different? Definitely. I never scratch an objective for being too challenging, but definitely scratch an objective for being not too challenging. You can always call it what we call the stretch objective. Stretch objectives means we know it's a crazy shot. It's like a 10% probability. But you know, if we do it, it's a game changer. Keep it there. It's called the stretch objective. So nothing wrong with that. Thank you. Excellent question.
Also, Ammar, to continue on that, in the same article you mentioned that the former CEO or chairman of Google was talking about OKRs. Another really important point was that they were talking about your OKRs being too challenging or not challenging enough. They said a really nice point that I would also like to add is that if you're meeting all your OKRs every single month, it means you're doing something wrong. So your OKRs are meant to be challenging. They're meant to push you, and even when you're putting OKRs, there's the goal and there's the stretch. So something that you need to be dreamy, you need to have that goal that's really dreamy and really hard to achieve, so to say, so it can push you to better achievements and better growth.
Lean speaks from experience. She's a big advocate of OKRs, and she pushes on her objectives, and I salute that. Yes, definitely, I agree with you 100%, Lean. Thank you.
Okay, a lot of people were asking about the presentation, and if you can get a copy of these slides, we would be happy to share these with all of you. Once you signed up, you all added your email, so after the webinar, we will definitely share the slides with you all, and we would be happy to. And if you do have any questions or any things, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn or to Ammar personally. We would be happy to answer any more questions about anything if they come up later. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you a lot.
Thank you all. God bless. Best of luck to you this year.
Thank you, Ammar and Lean. And if you allow me just to thank everyone who has been with us. I've been watching the interaction, and definitely it has been an informative and an engaging discussion. So for all the audience, I would like to thank Case in Point and Ammar and Lean and the other team members of Case in Point. If you have also any requests, interests in EBRD support, please get in touch with us. We'll also share this information with you. Our Advice for Small Business team is happy to help you if any of your organizations are interested in implementing any of the aspects that Ammar has talked about, whether it's in EBOS or OKRs or digital transformation. Our grant-based support is available for you in these areas and in many other areas. And thank you again all for being with us.
Thank you so much, Khalid. Thank you, Nisreen. Thank you, EBRD. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Appreciate it.
Have a nice day, everyone.